the Pop Culture Master Race.
Does mother know you wear it for drapes?
All your pop culture needs. And here are your hosts, Aiden Munga and Brett Page.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Pop Culture Master Race PCMR podcast. As always, I am your host, Aiden, and I'm joined as once again by my co-host, Brett.
Hello.
Today, we will be talking about Captain America Civil War, the 13th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
13, that's a lot of films.
We have come a long way.
There is not a lot of franchise that can say they've made 13 films.
In 8 years. That's
8 years.
It's crazy. The amount of ground that we have covered to get to this point is astonishing. But we're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about this film, just Civil War. We're going to be doing a spoiler-free section first up, and then a spoiler section with a kind of review kind of scale out of 10 in the middle. And then in the spoilers, we're going to get into more detail about certain scenes we liked, certain scenes we didn't like, and more of the gritty specifics. But just now, let's get into what this film is about. After the events of Avengers, Winter Soldier, Avengers Age of Ultron, and an event in Lagos, Nigeria at the start of this film, the Avengers have pissed off the world with their...
Pretty much. Everyone hates the Avengers right now. Fucking, never mind that everyone would be dead without them. Sorry, I'm a bit sour.
No. I think it's not so much that everyone hates the Avengers, is that like there's a lot of concern about the damage that they have caused and the amount of conflict that has arisen since they began. So the United Nations have put together the Sokovia Accords, which is basically this film's version of the Superhero Registration Act. And, you know, sides are formed, ideas meet and clash, and we have our two sides, those siding with Captain America, who believe that the Avengers should be able to operate freely and without government oversight, and Iron Man, those siding with Iron Man, thinking that they need to be held accountable for their actions. And then that's the crux of this conflict of this film.
See, the thing is, when you hear it like that, you kind of think to yourself, well, it kind of makes sense that the superheroes should be government regulated. But it's one of those films where you can come in thinking that, because honestly, I think the whole hashtag Team Cap, hashtag Team Iron Man, is just a promotional thing.
Yeah.
Because you get into the movie and like, you feel for everyone there. You kind of understand everyone's side. And like, I'm sitting here watching the movie, like, I'm not really on anyone's side. I can see how they all believe what they believe.
No, this is a film that I think later on we'll have to make some comparisons to Batman v Superman, just by the nature of, you know, this year we have
happen.
Two giant like figurehead characters of each respective kind of comic company clashing against each other. But where I felt Batman v Superman failed, this one kind of got a lot of those things right. And I don't want to keep just kicking a dead horse with Batman v Superman, but this film kind of, it addressed a lot of similar issues where, you know, characters are coming in and they're just destroying things and leaving a lot of casualties and property damage, and, you know, and then this film kind of like addresses that very kind of in a very smart way. Like, the film starts off with like it's a big grandiose action scene, but then it slows down a little bit and allows things to breathe. You meet the characters, you find out where they are in, you know, at this stage in their life, in this stage of the universe.
Yeah, we kind of figure out a little bit of what's been happening since we last saw them all. And
like, it really kind of sets up the pieces kind of very kind of nicely, and then once things are set up, it really kicks in, and we have one of the best in the middle of the film is one of the best action sequences. You can probably guess what it is if you've seen the trailer or the posters, but it is one of the best superhero action sequences I've ever seen in a film. Okay, since I got out of this film, one of the first things I said was, these action scenes are some of the best action scenes in the entire Marvel universe so far. Some of the best action scenes I've seen in a long time in general. That's one of the things that Russo brothers do really well, is that not only do they blend CGI and live action in a very kind of believable way and bring in this great sense of like drama and human conflict to these, you know, larger than life characters. They use a lot of stunt work. The stunt team in this film is amazing. Like, if you thought that the stunt work in Winter Soldier was good, it's continued here. Like, that level even a little bit escalated, because the stunt work on display here is amazing, and it's all shot very frenetically. I feel like one of my complaints was it could have been slowed down just a little bit, but you can never like not tell what's going on. Everything is quick, powerful, and very kind of like impressive in its display of like athleticism.
I think they had like a really good mix of like, you know, your good fast-paced action sequences and then like, you know, your talky sequences or whatever the fuck you want to call them. And like in those sequences where there's not a lot of action, you can still feel the tension, like because a lot of this film is build up. Like we expected that there's a lot of build up. That build up, it's not like fucking boring build up like Batman v Superman was. It builds tension. It builds these characters. It builds your ideals on why they're fighting and why this is happening to
the
them.
dialogue scenes are very much kind of establishing character viewpoints. They're not establishing so much, you know, where things are or like who people are, but more like how they are reacting to the situation. So it's very much everyone reacts very humanly. Like this is, I think, one of the more interesting kind of superhero films is that even though there is a villain in this film, we're not gonna reveal what their plan is or how they go about it, but there is a villain in this film. But even their motivation is very kind of human, and by the end of the film, you're like, I can understand their point of view. I can understand how
when
they
it does
came
get to the
that.
very end scene with the villain and one of our favorites, you can really feel like this isn't some huge bad guy with superpowers. This isn't fucking Ultron. This isn't fucking Loki. This is just a guy who's obviously pretty fucking smart, and it's like he has these human emotions, and these human emotions is what's driving his actions.
Yeah, like in the comics, it's Baron, it's Zemo. Like you'd know that if you looked at like the credits or something. So that's not so much a spoiler. I'm not going to spoil what he does, but that's the character's name. In the comics, he's very much kind of like he's a villain. He wears a purple ski mask. He's the leader of Hydra at some point. He leads the Legion of Doom. He's just, you know, a cookie cutter kind of villain. But here, this is probably the smartest he's been portrayed. They've stripped away all of like the silliness of the character and kind of just kind of use the name for the purpose of telling a nice story. And I think that's...
And they didn't even call him Baron Zemo.
No.
Like, most people who've looked this film up before they've seen it would know that in all the stuff they're calling him Baron Zemo, but nope.
He's just Zemo.
Just Zemo.
Yeah, no, he was really good. And like even the conflict between Iron Man and Steve Rogers, I was feeling like, you know, it's a Captain America film. You're going to very much feel like, oh yeah, I'm always going to be on Cap's side. And while the film very much has like a Cap focus, it is still very much a Captain America film with all these other characters in it. It is like I felt for every character and where their viewpoint was coming from. Like everyone put like their point of view, like, well, this is why we should be doing this and this is why we shouldn't be doing this. Everyone's viewpoint made sense. Yeah. And I felt like that made for a very kind of conflicting viewing, because you're like, I agree with everyone.
That's what this film's done really well. It evokes an emotion that a lot of films don't generally invoke. Because usually you're watching a film and you're generally like, I like this person, I'm on this person's side. But in this one, the main conflict that it's showing us is between the heroes. And, because like, the Baron Zemo stuff, without going too deep into what he's doing, it kind of falls to the back burner a lot of the time. Like, we find out it kind of intertwines, but it's still, the main focus is these heroes fighting each other. And like, even when we get to the huge action sequence that we've already seen parts of, you're still just like, I don't know who I'm going for.
And like, I think another thing I really liked about this film was a lot of other Marvel movies, their endings are kind of the same. It's a big kind of action scene in the sky, and it's like bright and in the daylight, and there's like Guardians of the Galaxy, you end with like a giant spaceship and they're fighting that. Winter Soldier ends, there's like a bunch of helicarriers in the sky, you're fighting that.
Yeah, it's just this huge
Age of Ultron, it's a big kind of island.
Yeah,
and like,
it's just a huge thing with so many people
This one is
around.
a lot more personal, I felt like. It's a very much kind of like they've stripped, like it's still kind of like you're watching it and feeling like the same kind of intense kind of exhilaration you get from
I felt it was more intense, man. I was feeling a lot more intense feelings just because there was so much emotion in all of it.
Yeah, but and when it wasn't super complicated in the emotion, but like it was like raw and like real enough that you understand everyone.
There was real and there was raw emotion. That's what it got you invested in this fight in a different way.
That's not something I thought I would be saying about a Captain America movie like 8 years ago. Before all this Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff happened, I didn't feel like I'd be talking about like
we had that 1990 Captain America film.
It's just like I didn't feel like we would be at this point where we'd be like, yeah, man, this Captain America film touched on a lot of real issues. And, like,
you got a deep emotional connection.
Great kind of emotional crux to its core. And it's like, what are we how did we get here?
This is comic book shit we're talking.
I know, but it's like, it is like a really kind of smartly constructed film. Like, it has some great, massive action sequences, and it's got some fun moments, and, you know, characters have, like, you know, great kind of one-liners, but, you know, that's all like kind of surface stuff. At its core, this film is very deeply emotional. It's very serious, and it's very kind of dark.
Yeah.
But we're like, it fluctuates in tone, because we're like Batman v Superman. This is where I'm going to bring in my comparisons for that film.
Yeah.
That film was very much kind of brooding. The entire film had kind of one tone. It was brooding, and
it was.
Don't know if I should be doing
It was
this.
dark. It was sort of uncomfortable.
This was more contemplative, and like there were moments of darkness, but there were also moments of levity. Like, it knew when to like have to ebb and flow. Kind of like, okay, we've gotten to like a really kind of dark situation here. We need to lighten it up just a little bit, or like when we have like certain characters like Ant-Man and
Falcon
and stuff who bring in some levity into it, but they also, you know, there are other characters who bring in this nice kind of really great seriousness. Like, one of the characters they introduced in this film is T'Challa, Black Panther, and this is our first kind of cinematic introduction to him, and I was so very pleased with Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman, fucking Chadwick boss man.
Yeah, he is so good in this film, and you feel like his rage and his kind of regalness and royalty, and it's just, I've been reading about this character for some time now, and it felt so kind of good to just have this kind of great kind of African character on screen, and it was
just the way we're introduced to him, it doesn't spend a lot of time on his backstory.
No.
But I feel like the way they've introduced him, you didn't need to. You knew who he was, and you really got in touch with what he was feeling, and you could feel
he has an arc throughout the film. So like he
was in a lot more of the film than you'd expect.
He's more in there more than you expect. A lot of the characters are in there slightly more. Expect maybe Ant-Man. Ant-Man's in it about as much as you'd expect him to be in it.
And so is Spider-Man. He's not in a lot of it.
He's in more than I thought he would be.
He gets a pretty good scene with Tony Stark there.
Yeah. No, this film, like, it does have like a really great, but I think better than Age of Ultron, a better kind of balancing act of like giving characters, like, they come in, like, they've realized like some characters, you're coming in, you don't need an arc for them, you just need them to have like a fun scene and get them to do some kind of fun things.
Well, it's like, you know, Ant-Man, we've just seen an Ant-Man film. Paul Rudd, fucking, come on, we got to give the guy a little bit of a break.
Yeah, so he comes in and does his thing. But, like, other characters get, like, nice arcs, kind of. So, Vision has, like, a really kind of nice kind of small arc in this, as well as Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, I kind of liked their arc, because their arc was kind of, like, intertwining a bit, because they were together a lot of the time. And then when we get to the big fights, then, like, we already know they're on different teams, so...
Yeah, but it adds like a really nice kind of layer of conflict that the two of them, they're very much connected by this mind gem that's in Vision's head, and they like
that's what gave her power.
They play around a lot with that, and I thought their interactions were really great, and I liked all of Vision's speeches.
And you could tell he's getting more and more human. Like he was like, "Oh, I'm making you this food because I thought it might cheer you up," and she's basically like, "You're a fucking terrible cook, Vision."
It's like, I've never eaten before, so I don't know. There has some nice kind of comedy moments and some great kind of reflective moments with Vision. And this film, I feel like I forgot what I was trying to say. The film, it really kind of brings in all these characters kind of better than Age of Ultron, and it's kind of, but still kind of very focused on Captain America's conflict and Bucky. Bucky is kind of really like the crux of this film. because his kind of story is interweaved throughout it, and his actions or lack thereof.
They drive the plot, really.
Yeah, and that's kind of a nice continuation of Winter Soldier. So it's an Avengers sequel as well as being a Winter Soldier sequel, and and it blends those two really nicely together to get this kind of nice blend of action and drama and political intrigue. So it deals with like all these kind of issues of like superheroes and the consequences of their actions in a much more kind of realistic way, I felt, than
because Batman v Superman did try to do that, but in the end, they didn't fucking do it at all. It was just like, oh, our parents' names are Martha.
It's like, spoilers for that film, but I guess,
everyone who's going to see it has seen it.
That's true, but it is kind of like, I don't want to keep shitting on Batman v Superman because it's like it's done, it's dusted. Like everyone's had their viewpoint. If either you like the film or you don't, or you think it's just a movie, and we're all kind of gotten to that point, or you don't care. So I think we've made ourselves very clear on how we feel about that film, and it shouldn't really be comparing that to this film. But there are a lot of similarities here.
Well, of course there's going to be similarities, because, they're both trying to deal with superheroes having actions for their consequences and superheroes fighting each other. And they've gone about it in a very different way. Which was better? Who's to say? We are, but still.
Yeah, and so I think in the end, this film, it introduces new characters in fun and exciting ways, and I can't wait to see their films. It has a great kind of central conflict that a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have expected from a superhero film. Once again, the Russo brothers have brought just their great ability to add like realism and direct action sequences into this film. And you get some great performances from Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chadwick Boseman, Daniel Bruhl as Zemo, I think gives a nice kind of layered performance, as well as kind of everyone else in the cast, really. Everyone brings their A game.
Freaking Anthony Mackie. I was thinking throughout this film, he's having so much fucking fun with this role.
He is. I've been reading a lot of like Captain America, Sam Wilson in the comics. Sam Wilson becomes Captain America, and he's that. I can just, when I'm reading that comic, I can just hear Anthony Mackie's voice in my head. It's like it's a perfect fit. It's just quintessential casting there. And
just Anthony Mackie, he just loves the role. Like, even the very start of the film, freaking Black Widow's like, I'm not saying thanks to that thing, but his name's Red.
Red Wing. Oh, like, yeah, they bring in, like in the comics, he's got a kind of a PAL, he's like a falcon, like an actual falcon, and here it's like a drone, so they kind of like bringing it in a kind of way, because it's kind of weird if he just has like a pet falcon on his shoulders, like, I'm the falcon, and here's my falcon, Red Wing.
That's one of the, that's a kind of silly comic booky thing.
Yeah, and here it's like a drone, which is like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool.
And like, I liked in the big fighting sequence where he goes to Spider-Man, like, I don't know if you've been in a fight before, but usually there's not this much talking. So he's just, you can just tell like his little quips and his little one-liners, he's just having so much fun with them.
Oh, and Tom Holland is, without a doubt, my favorite cinematic incarnation of Spider-Man.
Great pick for Spider-Man. He really encapsulates...
They get the character right in so many ways that other films have just not gotten right. And it's just, I'm so pleased that they've found... If you want an indication of the kind of Spider-Man that we're getting here, watch the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, because I feel like that's kind of the closest approximation you can get of what this Spider-Man is like, where it's a young character who just quips and feels it's real good.
It's like, because Spider-Man's always been like, as Peter Parker, he's nerdy, he's shy, he's all that stuff, but it's always been that when he puts on that suit, he's becomes
a cocky little shit.
Yeah, he becomes Spider-Man. He's talkative, he's everything that Peter Parker can't be.
And they get that right in this film, and whoo, so good. See, I think overall, I would give this film. There are some things that I can't quite remember now, but I feel like there are. It is a little slow in the first act. It's all kind of set up, and it's deserved.
After the first scene, there is quite a bit of dialogue stuff, but I like that.
It is a little slow in the first act. That's really the only problem I can say, and that's really a nitpick. Like, I enjoyed watching that, but I feel like if I was to watch it again, I would feel that kind of like slowness in the first act a little bit.
Maybe you'd feel that more because you know what's coming.
Yeah, like I'd be like, okay, let's get to this next thing, get to the next thing. But yeah, all the performances are good. The action is good. The story it's very different to the Civil War comic, where like this is a kind of a stripped down Civil War in kind of name and inspiration only. Like if you're looking for like a direct translation of the Civil War comic, it's not quite that. It's very much the Civil War of the MCU, but there are little like hints and Easter eggs and references to that comic. One that brought me to tears because it was just so good, and we're going to talk about that in the spoiler section in a little bit. Yeah, I give this film a 9 out of 10. I enjoyed it immensely. This is probably one of my favorite entries in the MCU so far. I'm not sure if it's my top favorite, but it's one of my favorites, definitely.
I'm definitely giving it a solid 9 as well. I think like it and the first Avengers, they're like neck and neck for me right now.
Definitely. So yeah, if you haven't seen the film, go and see it, because the rest of what we're talking about is spoilers from here on out. But yeah, we highly recommend it. Like a great way to start off the summer movie season.
Oh yeah, brilliant film, a lot of fun, a lot of action.
Okay, so now we're spoilers. So if you don't care about spoilers, or you've seen the film, now that's what we're going to be talking about. Some of the things I want to mention straight up. I really liked I'm trying to think of like what's like a good bit to like start off talking about.
What about the one you just mentioned, Peggy Carter's funeral?
Yeah, okay. So Peggy Carter's funeral, I was tearing up because I watched Agent Carter, and like, this is like a character that like I've been following for so long, and it's like, oh, Peggy. And like she
lived a long life.
She lived a long life, and she did
a lot of people in her field don't get to say that.
And I love how much she's affected the entire MCU, because it feels like she is such an important character.
Well, she is. She started S.H.I.E.L.D.
I mean, she's in Ant-Man. She's really affects this film. She's like, she gets a nice kind of scene in Winter Soldier, and yeah, she's just. There was a really kind of emotional scene for me, especially when she gets the Captain America speech from the Civil War comic, where she's like, what's it? It's you have to like plant yourself by the river of truth and say, no, you move, and like that kind of speech that Captain America has. I'll see if I can look it up. Like you,
you're actually gonna look on the dialogue.
Like I've got it written down somewhere. Hold on.
So. Finally, in this film as well, we got another scene with Sharon Carter there, where her and Steve finally fucking hooked up. And come on, we all knew that was coming. We could have said that in the non-spoiler section, because that was coming ever since she first came in Winter Soldier. But I think my favourite thing about that scene is not the kiss.
Yeah.
The kiss was great. I was looking forward to that. But then it just goes to the car, and then it's got like Bucky and freaking Sam there, and Bucky's just like
nodding, yeah, boy, yeah. Like, okay, here's the speech. Doesn't matter. Hold on. Doesn't matter what the press says. Doesn't matter what the politicians or the mob say. Doesn't matter if the whole country decides that something wrong is something right. This nation was founded on one principle above all else: the requirement that we stand up for what we believe, no matter what the consequences. When the mob and the press and the whole world tells you to move, your job is to plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth and tell the whole world, no, you move.
Yeah. Emotional as fuck.
And they give that to Peggy, and it's just, whew, I was tearing up in this movie. Also, like, the way they portray Chadwick Boseman is so, like, Black Panther is so good in this film. He is, like, he's regal, and all his action sequences are, like, really kind of, like, powerful. And they did this nice thing, and I thought it was a nice touch, is that when he's like jumping off buildings or like walking, it's very silent, because like his suit, it's a vibranium kind of weaved thing, so that when he like lands down on something, like all that like impact is absorbed through the suit, so that there's no sound. So like he's very kind of slick and very cat-like.
Yeah, his movements are definitely cat-like, and he's obviously going for that, because he explains like the Black Panther has always been the guardian of my people, and now because of this man, I am not only guardian, but I am king.
Yeah, I like that. There was a nice touch where like he had like the Black Panther ring, so he at this stage he is like the Black Panther of Wakanda, but he's not the king. Where it's like those are two separate titles. but now he has to be both. So like his father, T'Chaka, who I didn't expect to see in this film, and I didn't know what I expected him to look like, but I liked that he looked very much kind of like African kind of royalty and kind of like an African leader, and I thought that was a nice touch. So yeah, he's in this film, and he obviously dies. He gets killed by, at that point we're assuming it's Bucky, but turns out later to be Zemo.
I was like the whole time, no, it can't be Bucky.
Yeah, but there is that kind of like, oh, it could be him, like, because his programming might be coming back. So,
Yeah.
there is kind of, you're not entirely sure for most of the film. But yeah, I did like that touch of him like putting on his father's ring and being like, okay, I have to take on both of these responsibilities and get revenge. And then at the end of the film, being like, I can't let revenge kind of like control me.
His arc really comes to a great climax at that scene at the end there, like while Bucky, Steve, and Tony are fighting in the thing, and he's out there with Zemo, and like Zemo knows that fucking Panther's got me. I've got no fucking escape now. And they both have these, they're the really good back and forth there, where Zemo's just like, my family died. We find out that phone call he kept doing the whole time was a recording of the last message his wife left him. And he's like, I'm no huge superhero. I can't fight these people. But what I can do is I can put them against each other. And then he's just like, revenge is what's been driving you, and it's turned you into this monster, whatever.
I can't let it control me.
I can't let that control me. And it's like,
oh, that's
great emotional climax from him.
Great. And especially, the fight, like, the fact that, I think what the great, like, kind of emotional kind of crux for this film is that, like, Tony finds out finally that Bucky, as the Winter Soldier, murdered his parents. And like the fact that Steve has been keeping this from him, and like we kind of get like a hint of it maybe in Winter Soldier, and now that coming to head here, and it's just this like great kind of like conflict where it goes from like Tony is like, he's finally sided with them. He's like, okay, I've realized like there's this thing going on, someone's been impersonating you, I'll come and help you. And then to like finally realize like, you murdered my parents, you knew this, like, and you didn't tell me. And it's like, no. And it's
so that's what just gave that final fight scene just so much emotional weight, because just Tony was so like, he was distraught. He was like, the whole time you as the viewer, you're sitting here like, no, Tony, you're not thinking about what you're doing. You're acting irrationally. That's what he was doing. He was acting irrationally.
It was completely understandable.
Yeah,
at the same
it was
time,
completely understandable.
I was like, yeah, he did kill your parents, kick his ass, but then
like at the same
like, no, like
same time
as
as like it wasn't him. He was brainwashed by Hydra.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, and that end is where like Steve finally like beats him, and then he's just like kind of crippled in the suit.
Shield's
like,
not yours.
My father made that shield, and it's like
he just drops the shield and walks away. It's like, that was just I want to watch this movie again already, man.
It's like,
let's go see the movie again.
As soon as I got out of it, I was like, I want to see this again. Yeah, it's so good. Oh, and Spider-Man in this film is so good. He's such a good boy. That's all I could think. Was like, oh, he's so nice. He's such a good kid. Like in previous films, they haven't quite gotten it right. Where like in The Amazing Spider-Man, the Andrew Garfield stuff, like he didn't invent the web fluid. He just kind of made the thing to shoot it out. So like he was smart, but he wasn't like as smart as he is in the comics. And then in the Sam Raimi one, it was just like part of his powers. So
which was kind of weird. Like, he's a young boy going around shooting people with white liquid. That's a bit weird.
Yeah, and like he was kind of geeky, but he wasn't kind of as smart. He didn't get a chance to like really portray his smartness. Like he couldn't like he didn't invent anything in the Sam Raimi films. This one, he's super poor. Like he's living in like a big kind of like apartment complex that looks like public housing. So like, he's a poor kid living in poor housing. All his suit before he gets Tony like upgrades it for him is so shitty. It's just just complete crap. And I really appreciate that because you look back at like the Sam Raimi films and the Amazing Spider-Man films, like he makes like a suit and it's like, where did you get the money or the equipment to make this like Hollywood studio suit?
Yeah, and it's like, in both of those films, like he was kind of like middle class-ish. They didn't really make him poor. They made him like middle class-ish.
Yeah, and here he's poor. Like he's a dumpster diver. He like grabs like garbage and like he's made like all this stuff just because he's so fucking smart. And then so he gets the new suit from Tony, and it's just like it's this great moment where like, yes, that's finally like an explanation instead of just like this kid magically having like this movie quality suit. He's like, he had to go to like a billionaire to get that suit.
Yeah, and I love that scene where Peter comes home and just Tony Stark is fucking sitting on his couch with his aunt.
And I thought it was a little weird, like, seeing Aunt May, like, being super hot, because Marissa Tomei still got it. She's 51, but she got it. Like... Yeah,
that was just a really strange thing, and just the weird flirting Tony was doing with her. I'm like,
they're kind of the same age. So
like, I know at the start of the film, they kind of established that him and Pepper have broken up, / on a break.
That was kind of sad. Like, feeling like, oh, man... Like, like, he's kind of a dick, and that's probably what was going to happen, but it still kind of feels like, man, can't those kids work it out? But it is kind of realistic.
When that scene, which I almost knocked over my recorder here, that scene where, Tony's kind of flirting with her, and then he's in the bedroom talking with Peter, and he's like, "Oh, your hot auntie out there," and it's like, no, you belong with Pepper.
Yeah, but it's like, the more you kind of think about it, I was like, why does Aunt May need to be really old? It's not his grandmother; it's his aunt, and an aunt could be any age, really.
True.
And like, it's still like a realistic kind of age. Like, she's 51, and he's supposed to be like 15. That's a fine age for an aunt, like, just because...
Well, my mum is 50 now, and I'm 22, so...
Exactly, so it's like, that's fine. That's a perfectly reasonable age for an aunt to be for a 15-year-old.
It's just we're used to seeing depictions of her being pretty old.
Even in the comics, like, she's kind of pretty old. But that's like, hey, you can't help it if, like, she is, like, a realistic age. It just happens that Marissa Tomei still got it at 51, so...
She a MILF. She a MILF. Don't Google that, kids. Don't Google that.
Google it like it's 2000. Like, I think everyone knows already.
Everyone knows.
People come out of the womb knowing, like, oh, MILF.
Maybe you did, but not me.
Who's to say? But yeah, like, I really like the portrayal of Spider-Man in this film. He's quipping, he's joking around. He's kind of really going throughout this film, kind of like telling jokes and being like, okay, guys, like, I have to impress Iron Man. And like, Falcon and Bucky kind of like hate him because he's just kind of, he comes in, he's being not serious. He's just like, oh, wow, like, he sees like,
this is so cool, I'm having so much fun, I'm so happy to be here.
Like, bloody Bucky punches him, and it's just like, wow, you have a metal arm? That's so awesome! And he sees Falcon's wings, and he's talking about, like, oh, there's, like, carbon fibers, blah, 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 science stuff, and he's just like, shut up! And it's just like, oh, sorry, I like your wings, they're pretty cool, and it's just, like, webbing everyone up.
Then he just fucking kicks their ass. I love that.
Better than everyone. It's like, hey, guys, come on, just calm down. I'm trying to impress Iron Man. It's my first day on in this new suit. It's like, it's kind of uncomfortable. It's rides like, hey, it's fine. It's a good suit, but it's my first day wearing it. And it's just, he's so funny.
Yeah.
This film.
And like, he's a little bit awkward. That's what kind of makes him funny. And that really led to that amazing line from Falcon where it's just like, I don't know if you've ever been in a fight before. There's usually not this much talking.
Oh, sorry. Just webbing everyone up. And it is kind of nice that, like, he's a child and no one's kind of really trying to really hurt him. He's just kind of, Iron Man's like, you're just here to web people up. Don't get into, like, a big fight.
See, that's the kind of thing about that fight. I feel like a lot of that fight, they definitely weren't trying to kill each other. No. They were just trying to get each other out of the fucking way. Yeah,
they really just kind of, like, stop people. And I think another thing that was surprising about this film, I think we haven't mentioned, is that outside of superfluous characters or characters that we don't really know too much about, no one really dies.
Yeah.
Like, which was surprising to me because in Civil War, like at the end of that, Captain America dies, and I was fully expecting, honestly, going into this film, that Captain America was going to die at the end of this film.
So I thought that wouldn't happen. Because, think about it, the Civil War comics, they were like 2004, something like that?
2006, 2007.
Yeah, somewhere around then. And Captain America comics have been coming out since the 40s. That's how long he's been in the comics. So, that is like at least 60 years worth of comics worth of him. So he's been around that long. People have had him for that long. Right now, we've had him like, 5 years?
Yeah.
So it's just, we haven't had him around long enough to kill him off yet.
My idea was like that they would kill him off in this film, and then when we got to Infinity War, like at the end of like...
Part 1.
Yeah, at the end of Part 1, they use like the Infinity Gauntlet to bring him back to life. Or something like that. Or like he would appear out of like a time portal or something, and it'd be like he'd been displaced for a time, because that's what happened in the comics. He'd been displaced for a time. He like showed up in some other time period and then like came back somehow. So like I was thinking they were going to do some weird comic shit, but this is fine. Like it ends with him just kind of like he's kind of given up being Captain America, and now so there's like the another thing I didn't quite expect, that the Sokovia Accords would go through. I thought that, like, we'd get to the point like, and it's like because at the end of Civil War and that one, like Superhero Registration Act, it goes to shit. It's gone. It's not a thing anymore. And this one, no, the Accords go through. So now there's like the Avengers that report to the UN, which is like Iron Man's Avengers, and then there's the Secret Avengers, kind of which Cap has. So like, and he's like, well, if you need us, we'll be out there. So
yeah, and it's kind of like Tony kind of accepts that Cap is gonna be there. Like he doesn't go ahead and report him. Like when the guy calls to say, "Yo, our freaking facility's been broken into," Tony does what he said he'd do and puts him on hold because, quote, he wants to watch the light blink. So it's like, Tony, he doesn't exactly invite him fucking back, but at the same time, it's just like he can go do his own thing.
So yeah, the only people who really die in this film are Crossbones, who's the crux to kind of set this whole thing kind of off.
Yeah, first action sequence.
Yeah, like he blows himself up in Nigeria. That kills 11 Wakandans. That brings in T'Chaka and T'Challa into the mix, and they're kind of pushing for the Accords at the UN. And T'Chaka, he's the only other one really who dies. Which was a very emotional scene.
Was it? Well, Rhodes lost his legs. Rhodes' legs died.
But he's got all that robot stuff, so he could just become a robot man. He's fine. Like it was kind of like it. I liked that it wasn't just kind of an instant fix with like the powered leg stuff.
Yeah, like he still has to go through all this fucking physical therapy,
and that was kind of a nice touch to like still add that kind of level of realism where it is kind of like, oh my god, like some terrible shit happened to you. I'm so sorry. But yeah, like no one died. And Stan Lee cameo, that was nice.
Yes.
Tony stank.
Tony stank. Then Rose like, yes, stank. Right here. Never letting that one die.
No.
I swear these Stan Lee cameos are just getting better and better. Let's talk about that action sequence, the chase scene on the road with Black Panther, Bucky. Oh, that was intense. That really, really set the precedent for all the following action
They're all so fast. It's just running so goddamn fast.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that was crazy. The like jumping over cars and... Sorry, I'm excited.
I did like when they get captured and it's just sitting there with Falcon. So it's like, so you really like cats, huh? Shut up. And it's like, no, the guy comes in a cat suit, starts attacking us. You like cats. What?
But that wasn't really one of the things that I just thought like, oh, Anthony Mackie is having so much fun.
He's so good in this film. There's just so many good moments, and there's so many like really great action sequences. I feel like Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson got some great action sequences, like right at the start in Nigeria when she's kind of kicking a whole bunch of people's ass. That was great. She was kicking so much ass.
Oh, I was loving that. Now, let's talk about the big thing that the whole film was fucking building up to. That big fight sequence, all of them facing off at that airport there.
Whew! This is quite possibly one of my favorite action sequences in the MCU.
Oh,
so
yeah.
far.
Let me just fucking say, Ant-Man stole the fucking show!
Woo.
Holy crap burgers!
Giant Man. He just goes for it. And I just watched Ant-Man again last night because my girlfriend hadn't seen it, so we watched it.
I've been meaning to watch it again. It's on Netflix now.
Yeah, as we watched it on Netflix, and it holds up. It's pretty good. But I like there was a nice touch where in that film, he has like those red and kind of blue discs, and the red discs shrink things, and the blue discs makes things larger. And in that kind of thing, continued in Civil War, where, like when he goes to like become Giant Man, he like does some stuff on his arm and it goes all blue. So it's like it's kind of like a nice touch there to be like,
Yeah.
blue, it's gonna go big.
Yeah, they kind of remembered that detail, which was nice.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good for them.
Oh, he just when he turned huge, and everyone like, holy shit, the little guy's big now. And it's just like it's taking all of them to try and fucking take him on.
I really like when the Spider-Man takes him on. It's like, hey, does anyone remember that really old film, Empire Strikes Back?
Yes.
It's just,
I'm just like, oh yes, I love you, Disney.
it's just like, Tony, how old is this kid? Look, I didn't carbon date him, but you're a little on the young side, all right?
Yes.
That was just a really nice touch, and it's kind of nice because so much of like Phase 2, which now that we're in Phase 3, it's like been centered like giving little hints here and there to be like to Empire Strikes Back, like people getting their hand cut off.
Yes.
All throughout Phase 2 is definitely a reference to Empire Strikes Back. Kevin Feige has even said so. It's like, yeah, in everything we've kind of had someone get their hand cut off. It's like a reference to that was like our one demand for everything. It's like at some point someone has to get their hand cut off.
Like, yeah, it's just a Star Wars thing. We have to pay homage.
We have to do it. It's like I don't care where in your show you do it. I don't care why or how, but someone has to get their hand cut off.
Oh yeah, I just love that friggin' line from Spider-Man as you said. Oh,
So good.
love it.
It's-
That whole action sequence there was just like it went on for quite a bit. It was like at least 15 minutes,
It was a good like 15 minutes.
and I was just like, I was loving
I think
every
it's
segment.
around like 20 minutes because I read some of that. Like Peter Parker gets 10 minutes of screen time, and Spider-Man gets about 20 minutes of screen time in this film. So it's gets a good half an hour. So yeah, it's about 20 minutes of just balls to the wall
action. Just Avengers
And it's
squaring off, and I'm glad it lasted for that long because we all wanted it to. It's like Batman v Superman. Sorry to make the comparison again, but like their action sequence lasted like 5 minutes till they found like both their mothers were called Martha.
Yeah, but yeah, this like every kind of fight in this film was just kind of visceral and entertaining, and I enjoyed this film so much. Like.
I was just having a good time. It was fun. It was action-packed. Got me laughing. Got me crying. Got my heartbeat racing.
And like it's good to know like after BVS, and this will be the last time I talk about it until maybe Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Like I felt kind of drained, and like maybe comic book movies are over. Maybe I don't give a fuck anymore. Maybe I don't care.
Aiden was in a slump for like 2 weeks after that
I was.
movie.
I
It
was
was
just like-
it was insane.
Maybe I've wasted my entire life caring about this shit. Maybe I'll
He's not
do something else.
He's not exaggerating. I would message him on Facebook, something about this podcast, or maybe something just about our personal lives. We have personal lives,
Yeah.
and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, okay,
Okay. I guess.
thumbs up."
Yeah.
I'm sitting here just like, wow, he's still upset about this movie.
And this is just like it. Even going into this, like I knew it was going to be good and was getting good reviews, but I wasn't excited until it like started, and then like the longer it went on, the more I was just like, crying and laughing and going, oh, it's just
Has it got you excited about superhero movies again?
it has. It's like just at that moment where you feel like, oh man, superhero fatigue. Maybe finally it's gonna set in. Maybe this is it. Like people have been talking about it coming along for so long, and I've just been like, it's not happening. Maybe it's finally happened. No,
No.
I haven't. I'm ready to go. Give me another one. Give me X-Men Apocalypse. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yes, Apocalypse. I rewatched Days of Future Past the other day.
Is still good. Holds up.
Still holds up, man.
Yeah, I need to watch that again.
Yeah. Well, my sister hadn't seen it, so I was like, oh, let's
I
watch
think my
Days.
brother hasn't seen it. We've got it on like
Blu-ray, but we haven't watched
Oh
it
wow!
yet. Yeah.
I just downloaded it.
It's so...
Who said that? I don't illegally download
no.
films.
You downloaded a digital copy from like iTunes or something.
Yeah, I paid for the download.
Exactly.
You people making assumptions.
Yeah. How dare you make assumptions about yourself, Brett? So yeah, that's it really. If you want to tell us how you felt about Civil War, you can find us on facebook.com/PCMR podcast. We're also on Twitter at PCMR podcast. We also have our own personal Twitter accounts. I'm at Aiden's Vlog, AIDANSVLOG.
I am at MeMan125. If you would like, you can shoot us an email. We don't check there enough, but you can shoot us an email if you feel so inclined. We are PCMRpodcast@gmail.com.
If you're wondering, where can I listen to this? It's a weird question to ask why you're listening to it, but where else can I listen to this? Well, if you're listening to it on YouTube, please go like and subscribe, so you can get little updates on when a new episode comes out. Also, you can find us on SoundCloud and iTunes. On iTunes, give us that subscribe, give us those 5 stars. It really helps us out, bumps us up in the reviews. Give us a review as well. Subscribe so that you know exactly when these episodes come out. On SoundCloud, I think SoundCloud has changed its model recently, so you have to have a SoundCloud account.
It's doing some silly things. It's trying to be Spotify.
Yeah, but if you've got a SoundCloud account and you've been listening there, keep listening there. It's still a great place to.
We're still going to upload it there, even though it's changing some of its things.
Yep, go there, follow, give us those hearts, comment, whatever you do on SoundCloud. We're also got a WordPress, but you don't need to go there if you don't want to.
You don't need to.
That's
just technical RSS feed bullshit.
That's just some things. Those are all the places you can find us. Next week we'll be back to news. There's some stuff happening that we haven't talked about.
Yes.
But we'll talk about it then. Until then, I have been Aiden.
I still am Brett.
And you've been listening to the Pop Culture Master Race PCMR podcast. Farewell and Excelsior, true believers.
See yous.